Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday. We are DebateSensei. We got Tim Seavey from San Diego.
Pow, pow.
I'm Jared Kabika Miller, your debate coach, professor of communications. Where's Matt today?
Yeah, where is Matt? I thought he texted you his plans.
He got wrapped up in a butterfly hunt, and he just couldn't tear himself away. Yeah.
Classic. Yeah, we wish him the best. So it is the second Wednesday, right? Yeah, second Wednesday. So that is
Wednesday.
IPDA.
IPDA, man. There we go. We're going to, you know the drill, everybody. So IPDA has a 5-topic striking process. We kind of go through that process. We flip a coin first, see who's going to be affirmative or negative, and we kind of play it out and see if Tim and I were going to be debating this, what topic would we choose and why every step along the way. All right. So let me get my screen up here. That's the one thing I forgot to do. There we go. Boom. Okay, so how do we do this? We're like heads your aff, tails your neg.
Sure.
All right, here we go. All right.
Neg. All right. I feel like I've got neg like 3 times in a row.
Really?
Yeah. Just it's.
I'll let you. Hey, you can call it. You can call it next time. How about that? Or you can do. Sure. You want to reflip it?
Nope. We're sticking with it. We're sticking with it. I way prefer to be neg with all 3 of these, or with all 5 of these topics, actually.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I had just a much harder time making decisions.
Oh, yeah. Let me orient myself. Well, you get to pick first, so I gotta think about this.
Yeah. All right. So this was tricky because there were a lot that I didn't like, or at least that I would not want to be on the negative side of. So the one that I would most dislike being on the negative side of is the topic of rap has become the most culturally significant genre of music.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I believe that one. And so I feel like that would be a little bit tougher to argue. If I were on the negative side, though, I think I would start splitting semantics between like the difference between rap and hip hop, taking particular artists and fitting like, okay, these pieces have more cultural significance than others. And those fit into these genres and like start trying to split hairs over like what those genres would be.
Okay. So rap is now you know what? I was having a conversation about this. I was listening to like our local rock and roll station, and they're playing like 25-year-old music. You know what I mean? It's like when I was a kid, when I was their age, like they would never have anything more than 5 years old. And so like, and then the discussion is like, well, is there any other like radio stations that do have that philosophy? And I'm like, I'm wondering if hip hop stations do. Like, clearly I don't know enough about it, but that would be, yeah, I think.
Well, okay, so break it down like cultural relevance. What does it mean to be a culturally significant genre of music? So does that mean that like, is pop a culturally significant genre of music? Because if it's just like,
I might make the argument it's the most important culturally. Yeah. It's yeah. So it would be
that pop is. So whatever is popular, that's what the most culturally significant is.
Yeah, I think I might like and you do like an originality bad, popularity, populism good stuff. You know what I mean? I think there's like really interesting arguments about, on an ethical level, I might be tapping into one of my favorites, Emmanuel Levinas, about having an obligation to attend to the other. And that being, that's like a primary sort of ethical obligation. And so like doing what's, like popular. And so something that is on a widely accepted sort of form is like, acknowledge, at the very least, acknowledging that it is the most culturally significant would be the least that you could do, if not, embrace it even more.
Okay. So I dig that. I do think though I would probably like, if I'm on the neg, I would start disagreeing that cultural significance does not equate to popularity. So taking like culturally significant art is not the art that the most people can name. Just choosing the thing that the most people can name, like, is The Big Bang Theory the most culturally significant thing on television right now? Like, a lot of people would argue that we're in a golden age of television with all the streaming platforms. Writers are at such a demand, and they're allowed to be really, really creative. So we've got some like phenomenal television out there. The number one most watched show is still, like network primetime 8 p.m. CBS programming or whatever. Like, that's the most popular. Is that the most culturally significant? So just, replacing television with music, I think just because it gets the most plays does not mean that it is the most culturally significant. So I would probably say like staying power, or like the impact that it has on movements and like the ways that people talk about a particular subject. So maybe like, culturally provocative, messaging, or culturally provocative, themes. And I think that's where you can probably get in more. Like, if I were on the affirmative side, I would start probably trying to push that direction. But that's why I do not want to be on the negative side of that, because I feel like I would start doing kind of, as you're saying, like, well, more people can sing the new Taylor Swift album than like can sing whatever else. And I don't like being on that side of it, but I feel like I would have a little bit more ground to stand on if I went that way. Any particular arguments you would have on the aff of this?
On the neg?
No, on the affirmative, because you said that you would like defer to that which is most popular, right? Like recognizing the popular. So what about
so that would be the aff, because like rap is popular. You know what I mean?
Is it?
Like if you look at top charts, you can talk about that. And so I do think that the Taylor Swift argument is actually pretty damn good, is considering she had all top 10 of the top 10 slots. You know what I mean? And so that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
So that's, I think, it requires little projection into the future, but like, are people going to be singing these songs 20 years in the future? Are they going to be singing, like Kendrick Lamar's most recent album 10 years in the future? Like, picking particular things. But anyways, that's where it would go. I think that would be a hard debate generally to have. So that's what I strike on the neg. What do you strike on the aff? So your turn.
Here we go. Both of those are really good. Oh man, I think I want to. This is kind of like letting you pick your poison. I'm like,
I thought there were like 2 good ones and 3 bad ones in this set.
Well, there's some good ones for the aff.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just do this one. There we go.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Like, so usually I like making the neg strike one of those. But I think I was gonna I kind of like all 3 of the others. I think that's pretty dope. All right. Anyways.
Yeah. This was also this is my next to bottom. This is my first strike on affirmative too.
It's not that I don't like it, because like on the affirmative, you get a whole lot of credibility and sort of momentum to like direct where the direction of the debate is going. So something as vague as this like actually kind of plays well into my normal strategy of just like taking something that's relevant and doing a case study of it. You know what I mean? And I just wasn't, I don't know. I don't think I'm in that frame of mind right now. Maybe that's just it. It's like, it's not the right topic tonight. That's it. You know, like, and so especially when I'm comparing it to the other ones that you'll see in a little bit, I'm like, and I just don't think I agree with it on face.
Okay.
Because it like sometimes, I don't know, just, I think tearing stuff down is sometimes a really great part of building. You know what I mean? It's the demo part. Everyone has fun with the demo part. So,
yeah, I'd agree. I think if I were on the negative of this, or if I just had to start picking examples, it'd be like Supreme Court precedent when setting, new interpretations, right? Like, we're building up a future of like what we want. Granted, the judiciary's job is to interpret things, but you have past precedent, and it is their job to look at past precedent to be able to figure out, how things should be. And so I think I would argue that like interpreting something that has been well evaluated gives you a stronger foundation for future growth rather than just like, let's make new and forget whatever we've done. So I think like I would, just as politics is kind of top of mind, I think I would probably take that avenue. And that's sort of one of the fun things about IPDA is you can just take a few different example areas of like, all right, if we were to apply this into law, if we were to apply this into, you know, science, or if we were to apply this into education, like what would that look like? What would that mean? And I think like dismantling previous policy before creating new policy helps avoid loopholes, right? If you're looking at it from a policy perspective.
Yeah, I don't even know if my first inclination isn't to go policy. So it's almost like the best thing on the AF would be to almost go to like a personal growth sort of discussion. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, listen, you can't get rid of your past. You have to accept it. And so it'd be almost like a criteria of like mental health. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, and so what's the healthiest way for you to look at your past or anything like that? And
Sure.
Lil Wayne is got the most insight on this particular subject. Vote for me on the F. Yay.
Yeah, I generally don't go for the metaphor ones, but like I feel like this has at least a little bit more I don't know, maybe approachable meat to it that you can apply to a few different areas of life. But yeah, I actually like that criteria on the affirmative of making it personal development. But all right, cool. So we got those two out of there. I did not care for either of those. Like I think they're both good topics, but those are like barroom good topics.
Yeah.
I don't want that being around.
All right, it's you.
I would then next strike the monarchy.
Okay, cool. Because like we've been, one of the reasons is, I don't know, just real quick, we've been talking about them way too much.
Like, agreed. That's part of why I'm like, I'm done. I don't think it's worth talking about.
Yeah.
It's somehow become even more boring than it was before.
Yeah.
I think there didn't exist a lot of potential in it. Now that's like really clearly been beaten out of it. So, and also we talked about this a couple weeks ago. So I think it's just not as fresh. It's not as useful. But if I were on the negative side of this, if this were the topic, God, I like ad dollars or something. Like, you know, it's useful to have celebrities so that people can like forget about their dull lives. I don't know. I would have to come up with some really flat, like sad arguments of like why having a monarchy is good. I guess like, I don't know. It's helpful to have like an aspirational model of like, they help set cultural tones and norms and plans and things. But like, I think it's probably really easy to start pulling out examples like, yeah, and where has that driven the British people to go wrong?
Yeah, I think like I didn't want to talk about the monarchy, but if I had to, I would love to be on the AF for this one. You know what I mean? It's just,
yeah, I think it's definitely better on the affirmative.
Yeah, I mean, because if that celebrity stuff is coming out on the neg, like it's following up a whole segment of a speech where it's kind of like the monarchy never dies, the king is dead, long live the king. So that when it says the monarchy, it's like we're looking at everything that it's done, and like having modern day celebrities does not get you out of that. All right, and so like and so it just becomes this critique is like you're not going to ignore what the monarchy of the United Kingdom has done throughout history in this debate.
Discuss the history of beheadings and of like, you know, mass execute, like just all the awful things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just focus on colonialism. You know what I mean? It's kind of like they were just, and so boom, it's just worldwide.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to outweigh that on magazine sales.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I really don't think I'd have a good argument for that.
You can imagine that debate right there. It's just,
maybe best case, like more harm than good. I don't know. I guess I could just go for like the rule of law of like, without a monarchy, there was more bloodshed in France, like during the monarchy in France even. But I mean, no, because then bloodshed, you start talking about just domestic versus colonialism. Yeah, I don't think you're going to win colonialism. I really don't. I don't like this one on the neck. I think you're going to take the L or like make it something super heady and like, no, like we're talking about butterflies, obviously. We're like the monarch butterfly has done a lot for the UK. I don't know. Try and make it squirrely.
Yeah. This it's just too easy to make it really serious. It's way too easy to focus on the drama of this rather than the comedy. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, agreed.
So,
all right. So your shot between my two favorite topics. I'm glad we've at least got to these.
my shot. Oof.
Oh, also, we didn't give a shout out earlier. Where did these topics come from?
Oh, this is from the Pasadena PCC, the Watson Lancer. It's a great tournament to prepare for the community college level state and Nats. You know what I mean? It's a 2-year only tournament, meaning that it's only like the first 2 years of college are in it. And so I think that's, you know, a great place for people to kind of like take a look and see who they're hitting for, you know, when they get to those places. So
really well run too. Like they've been doing it for like 20 years or longer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because Watson was a director of forensics many, many, many years ago. And so Lancer's there. I think it's their mascot, I believe. Oh. So Watson was added to that. But I want to say it's like 20 plus years they've been running the Watson Lancer.
Yeah. So sounds like everything went well. All right.
Awesome. All right. So your strike. Where are we going?
Oh. There's a safe one. And then there's not a safe one for me. Am I going to go with the safe one? Yeah, you know what? I'll do that strike. I know. That's the safe one.
Damn, yeah. So I just love talking about this. So this was my number one for both, but that's okay because the next one is my number two for both, so it's up there. All right, on the affirmative, where do you go?
It's the affirmative. So the future, I'm going to talk about like long-term future. It's had some setbacks recently, right? Sure. I think it's not doing well in Central America. They were hoping that it would do well in there, and it's lost a lot of value over its peak. But I think I'd say that it's like it's going to have this reset and it's going to figure things out, and they're going to like they got their foot in the door. You know what I mean? It's like Bitcoin got their foot in the door when they had one government legitimately recognize it, and like it's going to be bumpy, but it's kind of like I heard a saying one time about a camel getting its nose into your tent. I don't know about it, but it's like it's like if you give an inch, take some out, you know, type of thing. Yeah. And so I think that it will just kind of widen it out. I can't imagine crypto just never existing anymore. You know what I mean? And so my criteria is just going to be if crypto is going to exist forever, then it's the future of money.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, I first off, I think both sides, the affirmative and the negative, have some good stuff here. I think it gets really, really important to start making some definitions on the affirmative. So cryptocurrency and the future of money. So the future of money being like in the future, all money will be cryptocurrency. If that's like how we're interpreting this resolution, that like the US dollar and, you know, the yen and the renminbi and the pound and the euro, like if those are not going to be anymore, like if paper money or whatever is not the thing, that the future of money will be cryptocurrency, then that's like a big claim. And then also you need to start saying like, are we saying that Bitcoin is that thing, or that Ethereum is that thing? Or is it going to be some other, you know, ERC20 token? Or is it going to be like all existing fiat will be backed by cryptocurrency? So like it'll become the gold or something like that, or vice versa. Like will it be the, you know, cryptocurrency will be the fiat, but everyone's going to have their own thing that it's tied to. So like, you know, it's guaranteed in some other way. I think that that's where I would start going really specific on like, this is the definition, like not a particular cryptocurrency, but like the underpinnings or the technology behind it. Because that's exactly what I would nail on the negative side. I would be like, no, cryptocurrency as it currently exists, you know, between these few tokens is not the future of money. It is currently treated like a security where it's like, you know, I'm going to buy it right now because I expect that it's going to be more valuable in a little while, and then I'm going to sell it. And so it's like almost like a stock, right? Where you're just buying it with the hopes that it becomes more valuable. But I'm going to spend my US dollar on some Bitcoin, hope that Bitcoin grows in value, and then sell it back for more US dollars. And that's not going to be the thing. Like, no, I think that there's probably lots of good evidence that points to saying like, no, Bitcoin is not going to replace currencies. So if we're setting that as the standard, or Ethereum, same thing. That said, I would say that it is neg ground to say that blockchain technology is the future of money. So the ability to transfer money between currencies around the world without, banks and clearinghouses and all the bullshit that exists right now. Like all of the obstacles of our super antiquated monetary exchange systems will be replaced by blockchain, like just as a whole. So like having a distributed ledger as a technology, yes. And I think that like I could probably win that debate. So I think it comes down to a semantic debate of like, is it just blockchain technology is the future of money, and blockchain technology is not the same thing as cryptocurrency? That's what I would fight if I'm on the negative.
Man, now you're luring me into a debate about figures of speech. Whew. That's
why I love this topic.
Yeah, I would be able to drop the synecdoche bomb on you about referring to the whole with its part or part for its whole. Oh man, because like yeah, so it's like blockchain is neg ground. I'm like really. Oh yeah, you think so? You're gonna win that debate? Oh man.
So that's I think like I would probably just have like a T cryptocurrency and have a good like 5-10 standards of like, this is why we define cryptocurrency as like these existing tokens. Like, have a bunch of different, common person and reasonable use and whatever, like different standards that are all trying to push you into having to pick a particular token and say that that's the future of money. And this is assuming that we can already agree on, what the framework is. So if we both agree that the future of money means whatever the first thing is will replace, our existing fiat, like the US dollar and pounds and pesos and whatever. If we both agree on that, then I think it just becomes a T debate of like, I get blockchain and I force you into crypto or something like that. If not, I think have all kinds of like burdens press or some kind of like framework arguments around like, what does it mean to be the future of money, and trying to pin you on that. So I think it would end up becoming a really technical, like procedurally kind of round.
Yeah, I think there's ways of avoiding it, because as you were saying that, I'm like, I think I could come up with a fair criterion, and that would be, because I always think of criterions as like if you're given a cookie, one person cuts, the other person decides.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like it should be like, okay, here's where I'm going to cut, and it's like you should be able to kind of go, okay, that's fair. And so the criterion on this one is that a cryptocurrency will eventually be more widely accepted than any other currency. Eventually.
Okay.
And so a cryptocurrency. So I'm not going to say I'm going to push back on it's only the existing crypto. I'm like, no, it's a category. It's a category. Yeah. And eventually, maybe one that hasn't been created yet, but eventually cryptocurrency will be used more widely than any other currency.
Okay. That I think I think I'd accept that, and I would still like happily debate that.
Yeah, I think those are the best criteria in my opinion.
Sure. No. So if that were the criterion, I think I'd still push on like the likelihood of one single thing. So the currencies market, right? The fact like people will literally trade currencies of like right now the dollar has more value than the pound has more value than other things. I really don't see that going away. Like, and it, even though it seems silly, right? Like the fact that we have these separate different things, I think just because inflation would like economies in the world are too scattered that like inflation would just be impossible. Like things that cost something in the United States, having the same currency in, Cameroon, like I don't think that would work out, or really like anywhere in the world. So I think like having different currencies is required. And I'm not by any means like an economist in this, but like I think different economies require different currencies to kind of match up with what they generate, what the cost of things are there. And that differential is just, we have a big enough planet with enough economies that it's not something we can streamline. So that's to that end. I think that like it's not. It will not be one. It will be just the technology, and that's where I would still stake my flag. It's like the technology of guaranteeing it, making sure that like it can't be forged, it can't be faked, it can't be stolen. All transactions are recorded, permanently. Like I think that is the thing that I would just die on that hill and say like that's what I get. That's net ground.
All right.
But it's super fun topic. I would talk about that one. By the way, we should also do that as like a weekly topic, just because we don't talk about crypto here enough.
All right. We might be talking about that pretty soon. All right, here we go.
So yeah, the final topic is
military drones.
Oof.
Like, so one of the reasons is because I saw this on final round at NPTE like 4 years ago or something like that. Yeah. And the AF won. I'm like, all right, so there's some good arguments on that side. You know what I mean? It's like, so that's one sort of experience. I don't think that I have really followed this topic deep enough to riff on it right now. But what I do know is that there is a surprising amount of collateral damage from the use of drones. The argument that like it allows for more targeted sort of, of enemies and stuff like that is just not bearing out in the data. And so now that's something I need to verify with research, but those are the arguments that I'm hearing. I think part of it is that, how far removed the pilots are from the actual damage that they are creating. Like, it makes it so there's not a whole lot of incentive to be careful. And so, but whatever the reasons are, it's just not kind of bearing out. And then, I think that you could get a little bit more philosophical on it as well. I think I'd be pointing out that I mean you're kind of sanitizing the worst thing that we can do to each other.
Yeah, that's true. It's literally like the gamification of murder, like mass murder.
Yeah. So
yeah. I think the affirmative has a very strong case on this one for sure.
Yeah.
The biggest one that we would always link to was there was like a direct quote from like a really senior official or a senior leadership in Al Qaeda saying that like drones were the #1 recruitment tool for Al Qaeda.
Oh, right.
Just because of like the PTSD and stuff surrounding like drones constantly circling around. I think they were in like Pakistan, and like that is just such a constant state of terror for every single citizen living in the area, because civilians are absolutely just like killed in mass, like horrifying numbers from drone strikes. So just seeing a drone overhead is like, yep, there's a risk of death at any moment. That's the United States. Hey, do you want to radicalize and get on our side? Because we're here to knock those out of the sky, kind of thing. Is a recruitment tool. It's just it's more than just a tool for like doing murder. It also is like a kind of psychological weapon just to keep in the air, because they can fly way, way, way longer than regular planes and can be on, they can be on autopilot forever. So I think there's a ton of really gnarly arguments in the affirmative. You can point out like all the awful things. On the negative, I would probably start going for like deterrence, maybe, is an avenue that I would start saying, of like having, something that's always present, starts to say like, it starts to can de-escalate conflict. So just by the ever presence of drones, the likelihood that bigger conflict arises. I think I'd probably also start defining militarized, right? So militarized is maybe not necessarily the same thing as weaponized. So where I typically see this topic is weaponized drones. So those that have like lethal weapons aboard versus a surveillance drone.
I could see how militarized could include surveillance.
So that's like the common counterplan that we would do. So whenever the argument was U.S. should ban its use of weaponized drones, we would we would write a counterplan that it will ban all drones, or sorry, no, I take it back. It would ban just surveillance drones or something. But anyways, we take just a smaller piece of it and say that like those don't have the same capabilities, and yet they still have the same recruitment, potential into extremism. And so Yeah, the negative's certainly tougher on this one, but I think I would probably just start trying to, narrow down the scope that you've got. And then it's not a great argument, but it's something that will still generally land of like, reducing the risk of life to the pilot or something. I think that's a fairly easily turned one of like, yeah, if someone's going to be at the potential to do huge amounts of destruction, like it almost seems only fair that that person's life is also at risk. But I think you can start talking about, I think deterrence is probably the majority of where I'd go with it.
So there's also the time delay counter plan, which is kind of squirrely. Where you're like, okay, you lock them into like, when is it going to be banned? To be at some certain date. Like, oh, within 2 years. You're like, okay, we're going to allow U.S. drones to be used in Ukraine even beyond the 2 years. That's our counter plan. And so and you just pick out one sort of section, and then you're just going off on like, listen, these Iranian drones have been like wreaking havoc on Ukraine for a long time. Maybe U.S. drones can counteract that. Maybe there's some sort of countermeasures. We want to make sure that they have all those tools. So we're going to have, U.S. militarized drones, still active in Ukraine. And then after that's over, then we'll be done. Yeah. And so it's like, and then you kind of turn it into, it's like, should we support Ukraine?
Yeah. I suppose you could also even just like set a threshold to say like, the problem is that they have, this amount of inaccuracy. So just say like, once the technology, well, never mind. I take that back. Because I'm going to say like, once the technology gets good enough past that, like once we have them precise enough, but like, how are we really testing that? Right. That's never mind. That's way too dark. Because like there are ways to test for accuracy and things, but in non active duty situations, but even still, I feel like that probably isn't likely to be met. So never mind, I wouldn't go that route. Yeah, probably something weird in time delay and squirrely.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you gotta avoid those ones.
Yeah, right. Drone topic is I think it's usually a good one though, because like you've got a lot of ground on multiple sides, and like it allows you to start pulling in who's got more recent data. And I think those topics are fewer and further between. And I generally like having those where like having a good grasp of current events actually matters. I feel like that used to matter more than it does in a lot of topics, and so I dig those when they come up.
Yeah. All right, everyone. I am going to be traveling next week. So we're going to use this opportunity to take the next week off. All right.
Where are you going next week?
Going to be in New Orleans for the National Communication Association conference. So we're going to be repping Udely out there. Everyone should go check out Udely at protocoms.udely.ai. That's PROMMS.YOODLI.ai. And go ahead, get yourself an account and check it out. It's
you can also test it on our website. It's live now.
All right, everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks. That'll be like right before Thanksgiving. All right. See you then.
Stay classy, Debate Land.